Hello again everybody and welcome to another Beyond All Reason video. Today we are on a map we've never seen before called Aurelia, and we have, again, Sash Corin up here in red, playing Cortex. We see them play last time versus Lord Vedder, and unfortunately it didn't really pan out for them, so let's hope it works out better for them today. And Sash Corin is going up against, in blue, Autopilot, playing as Armada. Now, no player here has chosen a factory as of yet, so we'll sit and wait and see what they're going to do. When it comes to position on the leaderboards, Autopilot is actually rank 5th in the 1v1 leaderboard. Whereas Sash Corin is actually 3rd on the leaderboard at this point in time. Obviously, this replay is from a little bit behind, so that OS numbers aren't quite accurate as to the day of recording. But needless to say, Sash and Autopilot doing very well in the top 5 of the entirety of Bar. Now, we see Autopilot has started off vehicle, and so has Sash Corin. Now let's have a look at the map here. Well, first things first, as you are all very much aware, there is a big section of water here. Now, this is going to be difficult for vehicles to get access to. However, if either of the players decide to get an amphibious engineer, that will do relatively well at causing problems for the opponent by just taking up all of those metal extractors. And the first person to do that, in theory, can get 6 metal all to themselves with no contention whatsoever. None of these metal points are special at all. They're all 1.9. But one thing to note here is that there are basically 2 start positions on this map that have triple mexes. That Armada scout doing tremendously well. As you can see here, so we've got a 1, 2, 3 spawn, and he was obviously on a 3 spawn to begin with. And there are a couple of these 2 mex points. So there's one there, and there's one here as well in the left back position. So I could see this being primarily a 2v2 map. But very well played there, Sash, managing to deny the scout final hit there. Yeah, this is primarily a 2v2 map by the looks of things. Now, what can we see also about the layout of the map here? Autopilot doing a great job at harassing here, actually. Sorry, I'm just... Ooh. Sash almost losing a constructor there. Not doing a very good job at protecting his expanding engineer at the moment. Anyway, we can see that this middle section here, high cliffs, they are traversable mostly by the blitzes here, but it's not going to be the easiest of times. We can see that a constructor can get up here very easily, but this does give a massive overwatch point. If you build a radar up here on this hill, you're going to be able to see the entirety of the enemy base, and more so if you place like an artillery piece or something up there, you can quite easily bomb the enemy's base. On top of that, if you happen to get arty up in that position, you're going to cause a lot of problems for your opponent. Speaking of causing problems for your opponent, Autopilot in yet again with another blitz push here. Sash Corin does not have the forces, the energy required really to fire that LLT, but somehow, with 92 health, only 6% of its health left, this construction vehicle is somehow still alive. It's kind of really lucky there. No player yet to build any form of amphibious. Speaking of amphibious as well, you've got the 2 metal points here in the middle. So technically up to 8 metal points up for grabs for anyone who decides to go some form of amphibious. Now, as mentioned before, this is mostly lane based. As you can see, there's a lane there and then there's a lane there. the water and the hills kind of stop too much movement, which is why both of these players have decided to go vehicles with the basically more health available. And it looks like Autopilot going in for another raid here. He's been doing very well at keeping Sash Corin on the back foot. He is ready for it. Now, there is a push through the middle as well. Blitzes surprisingly turn around. They had already made it past the incisors, but decided to turn around. Probably because Autopilot just did not want to donate any more metal to Sash Corin. Now, when we look at expansion, look how far Autopilot has already expanded. He's already there. And Sash Corin has barely even finished the metal points on his base, purely because of how good a job Autopilot has been doing at containing Sash Corin. Now, as before, hills here on the bottom corner again. Placing a radar on here will give great vision of this far left flank. And any form of plasma-based weapons is going to have a big advantage. But I feel like in this map and in this match, the majority of what we're going to see going on is going to be down this central lane here between the two players, because this high ground is something you cannot leave alone. The left side is mostly going to be left on its own and not really messed with, I think. Sash Corin pushing a unit advantage here in the middle, and it does look like we are about to see a construction vehicle lost for Autopilot. Surprisingly, actually, the first construction vehicle to be destroyed this game. Sash Corin did a good job there. Now changing the tide of battle here. Janices have started to be built by Autopilot. Janices with their auto-tracking rockets will do pretty good, but they have a very, very long cooldown. And unfortunately wasted their shot there. And this is looking somewhat dangerous for Autopilot. Fortunately for Autopilot, he does have LLTs in most places. Although Autopilot paying attention to the middle section, he is about to lose. He has just lost, actually, a construction vehicle. One of his expansion construction vehicles. The LLT also gets destroyed. And this is not going as well for Autopilot. All of a sudden, he's lost complete control of every lane. And it's just allowed Sash Corin to get through and cause so much more damage than he was able to do to Sash Corin pretty much all game. And as we can see here, actually, damage value, 16k damage dealt by Autopilot to 21. 26% difference, and yet another construction vehicle looks like it is about to be destroyed if Sash Corin is paying attention, which he is not, but that's going to be both those expansion mechs is destroyed up on that hill once he's paying attention. And yet again, another Janus now goes down. D-gun comes out. Good D-guns there, managing to turn the tide somewhat. And here we see that amphibious constructor has been built. Sash Corin already has one, as we can see on the minimap there. Unfortunately, that amphibious constructor does not manage to make it to the water. And it is just all over the place for Autopilot right now. He has completely lost control. Right on the back of his base, Sash Corin absolutely inflicting massive damage on Autopilot. Autopilot only has the original mechs in his base. Let me correct that. He actually has his expansion ones, but in his base, only one of them remains out of the 3 that he started with. Autopilot's comm actually really far forward now. Probably going to building some LLTs there with the attempt to try and stem the tide a little bit. Autopilot needs just some breathing room here to get back on his feet, get that metal back in his terms. As we can see now, the metal difference per second It's 216% towards the red player, Sash Corin here. And we're going to start seeing an absolute tide of incisors coming out from Sash Corin. And his autopilot going to be able to hold out. Now, if he was Cortex, I would say, although slow, with the choke points here, the Pounder, which used to be called the Leveler, would actually do relatively well against these small, fast units because of the amount of impulse they have, and they're very good at dealing with weak units. However, he has gone for Janis's here, which, as long as they don't put all of their shots on a single target, will do relatively well. But if Sash Corin's able to bait out all of the Janis shots on like a scout or something, that will be a massive waste of potential. And as we see here on the right, this amphibious constructor is already gotten 3 of the 6 metal points in that water. And the amphibious one is going to do the same on the right. Of course, Autopilot isn't aware that this is here yet, but it may have been useful for him actually to move into the middle and build a radar right here. If you build a radar there, seeing that his view right now, you would basically have vision all the way around there, with the exclusion of that, and that would help him significantly, being able to see what's coming, and as well 2 metal extractors there for basically no threat at all. Now, a bit of a lull. Sash Corin switching over to pure brutes. He has a very strong economy right now and is actually not able to use all of the metal he's currently producing. And we're seeing not quite the same from Autopilot here. Autopilot actually yet to clear out this bottom left corner, doesn't even realize there's a unit there still. And surprisingly, his comm is actually going around to the right. It's actually a relatively safe plan when you think about it, because there's not going to be many units there. And as we actually said, he is sending that amphibious constructor off into the water on the left. One thing feared by quite a lot of Cortex vehicle players is the Janis. Get too many of them can cause you some big problems, but if we see right here is exactly what you need to do to counter a Janis, is just push them down. As long as you spread your units out, they can only hit like one thing, and then you just rush them down, get around them, or you bait out their shots. This is a big mistake here from Autopilot though, losing at least 3 blitzes here completely for no cost to Sash Corin whatsoever. And that's a big mistake, and we may actually see... Oh, Sash Corin losing all of this left force here to that single pop-up flame turret, and his strength on that left side now is severely diminished. Gnats actually coming out, sorry, they're called shurikens now. Shurikens coming out from Sash Corin here, and it is definitely very much on Sash Corin's side. This front line is starting to fall, but enough units there to put a hole in it, and a construction vehicle actually goes down on the left side from Autopilot. Autopilot really struggling right now to try and think what to do. He is aware... Sorry, I said Autopilot struggling to find what to do, yes. And funnily enough, in the last 1v1, we mentioned about the armed gunships, and I said they're completely useless. And in a normal setting, I would be right, and everyone was like, no, they're actually really good for, like, picking out on stuff, which, yes, in this situation right here, this is quite useful. However, in a normal situation, or attacking an enemy's base, it ain't going to do squat. And we saw that in the last 1v1 actually with Sash Corin, where he built them. They just weren't able to actually do anything. And although they're doing a good job now at just picking off some eco, as long as you don't go for an enemy base, when you know they're at Tech 2 and have flak, then they can do some work. But at the same time, for the amount of money that he spent on these, so 135, so it's the same metal cost as a bomber, but twice the energy as a bomber. For 2 bombers, rather than the, 4 gunships, coming over here, you could have taken out all of the opponent's energy. And what is more important, energy or metal? That is a very good question. The only energy Sash Corin has is in his base, so if you can take all of that energy out, he is stalled beyond belief, and it gives you plenty of time to come in and deal with it. Autopilot actually full on metal right now. Almost accessing there for a split second. And manages to actually build a metal storage. Also doesn't get this metal point here, which is odd. But very quite dangerous position, you could say. Autopilot with his comm that far forward. He also does not have quite enough units here to hold this middle. He also doesn't have quite enough AA. He has only a single Whistler. Bear in mind, it's not bad. A Whistler one-shots a Shuriken. But he's still losing forces over that middle section. On the right, though, I would say Sash Corin has got it very well defended. And Autopilot is going to struggle to get through there. If he gets a single artillery piece and just slowly push on this right side, he may be able to actually break through there, because there's only those 3 tanks defending. The middle point is the dangerous point here, and we do see Resbots there resing all of these tanks, and that's going to turn the army numbers very quickly. Now, a very costly attack from Autopilot on the left. Basically did nothing there. And not very good at all. Look at the number difference here in the middle. A big difference in unit numbers here. We're seeing about 24 tanks to the equivalent of 10. And Autopilot needs to do something to change the tide of battle. His comm is in a very interesting spot. I mean, I'd be half tempted if I was him to just walk up, degun the factory and walk away. With his army this far away. Autopilot going to be, I think, okay holding this attack off. He's going to take quite a few losses, but being this close to the factory, he is going to get reinforcements very quickly. This is a very nice radar up here. Basically not going to be able to be touched there. Shurikens are coming in now, which could change the tide of the battle here. He is using a air constructor here with the attempt to try and repair his tanks to keep them alive longer. I actually think I just saw a fighter get EMP'd as well, which I don't think I've ever seen before. Well, this is not looking good. Autopilot, because of this hovercraft factory that he's built on the right, all of his metal production has absolutely dropped. And that has given Sash Corin the leeway here to push forward and actually take this reclaim spot. And there's already so many Resbots here, and there's 6k metal. So much metal. These Whistlers aren't able to do anything because they're just hitting all the wrecks. And he should really bring this kind of, and there's not many there, but bring them across to the middle as well. There's no units on this left side. I don't think he necessarily knows that. He doesn't, but still, you've got enough static defenses here. Go. Get moving. You need those units. Oh, there is a flak there. There is a slow push from these missiles here to try and cause some damage. Sash Corin hasn't noticed yet because he is going quite heavy on an attack here. You can see both mouses flickering around here, trying to micro around the targets. Not enough AA. No AA even been built in the base. Not even a single AA turret. Oh dear. Well, without a single AA turret to be had, these shurikens are just going to EMP everything. And that will be the end of Autopilot's base. He's even got this guy over here that he's just still building energy with. It's just EMP forever. And that will be it. That will be Autopilot's base. The question is, who's going to get the comm? He has basically abandoned the base right now. He's just kind of making it take as long as possible for Sash Corin here to destroy the base so that he can come in and do as much as he can with this hovercraft force. He's actually moving in with his commander as well. He doesn't have any energy storage, so as soon as he loses all of these wins down here, there's not going to be much left. These constructors are just aimlessly walking into death right now. But the great job that this hovercraft force, if he could have just had a little bit longer, then this could have been a completely different ball game. Hovercrafts, tanks aren't quite as good as brutes in this situation, but Autopilot coming in here with a D-gun perhaps. Battery gone. Destructor gone. It's going to be running out of energy very soon. Not enough energy anymore. Vehicle factory gone, but a new one has already been built. He doesn't have the build power on anymore, but Autopilot's come out of energy, unable to do any more D-guns, about to get surrounded. Very little health left, and there goes Autopilot. Unfortunately, not able to bring it back at the end there. Hovercraft was a very good play, but unfortunately, Sash Corin just reacted well, took out the base, and the win goes to Sash Corin. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.